Hello everybody, this is Steve O'Reilly with Skinnypost.com, and I am joined as always with my partner in crime, Gail Saunders. Gail, how you doing? Good to catch up with you as always.
Living the dream, but not as big of the dream as the Denver Broncos fan, is living right now.
That's right, big day in Bronco Mania as Peyton Manning is agreed to go out to Denver and sign with the Broncos. They're still working on the contract details, but he has picked his team. The wait is over, and it looks like it could be an end to Tebow Mania out there. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but first let's talk about the impact that you think Peyton will have on the Broncos. Obviously, it's a huge upgrade, and anytime you can get a first ballot Hall of Famer and one of the best to ever do it at their position, it's always a good thing. So what's your initial take on the move for Manning?
I mean, if you look at this deal as a whole, this is one of the biggest free agent signings in the last maybe 20 years. Maybe it could get, if you want to go back further, it's one of the biggest free agent signings. I mean, what more can I say? I mean, you're talking about a legendary quarterback playing for the Broncos.
Yeah, absolutely.
Big applause goes out to John Elway. I think John Elway and Coach Fox are a big reason why Peyton Manning is a Bronco. They speak his language, and I think when you have a guy with the caliber of Peyton Manning, he needs to feel like he's in the right situation, and I think both those guys provided the right foundation for him, and I think sky is the limit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was a multitude of factors involved. Like you said, you know, Elway and Fox are veteran guys. They've been there. They've done that. They know what it takes. And I also think that, you know, Manning is still getting his rehab on. And I know that his neck is cleared and he's medically ready to go. But, you know, he's still not quite in football shape. I think he wants to work on that. And I think that the other teams that were involved have offenses that are already in place. And where he would have to go to Tennessee or go to San Francisco and learn their offense, I don't think he would have enough time to work on his rehab, to work with his receivers and learn the offense, whereas Denver basically said, we're going to bring your offense in, you already know it, and you can work more on your, you know, timing with the receivers, your connections with the wideouts. We'll add pieces to the puzzle that make you feel comfortable. Jeff Saturday's already planning a visit out to Denver, so it looks like he's going to get signed. You know, there's rumors that Brandon Stokely might come back to Denver. There's rumors that obviously Dallas Clark will be in the mix. I don't know if Denver's going to make a run at Mike Wallace or not, but that's been rumored as well, that they would be willing to forfeit that first-round pick if the money is right. So if you can get a vertical deep threat, you got Demaryius Thomas, who is really an up-and-coming receiver. Eric Decker is another up-and-coming receiver. You add Dallas Clark, and I think Peyton, you know, can mold the offense into the way that he wants it, as opposed to going into a system or a team that's already structured and already built, where he would have to learn what they want to do. And
plus, you look at the cap situation, it's a nice big number there for them to, you know, work with. I mean, they have a lot of leeway to kind of finesse the next steps for the Broncos. So I mean, that's a beautiful thing right there. So
yeah, and I mean, obviously the fans are going to talk about the risk of Manning and his neck and what happens if he gets injured and all the guaranteed money they'll have to give him and his huge salary. But honestly, in the NFL, every player has risk. I mean, every player is one play away from getting carted off the field. That's the risk that these guys take. And I don't think you can approach a team by looking at risk. You know, it's very similar to the draft. You can't draft a guy worrying about whether or not he's going to be a bust. You have to bring someone into your team hoping for the best and seeing how he'll fit your system. You know, instantly, the Broncos are the favorite in the AFC West. You know, Manning is going to come over to Denver. And the biggest key, in my opinion, for this move for Denver fans and what they should be excited about is Peyton loves to run that no huddle. He loves to come up to the line. He loves to make his checks and his calls at the line, push the tempo, push the offense. And in that mile-high air, you know, you're going to get defenses that'll be gasping, you know, by the second, third, and fourth quarter, they'll be done. You know, and now you get a lead, and the defense won't have as much pressure on them as they did under the Tim Tebow regime, where it's like, hey, we can't afford to give up a big play. We can't afford to get down 10 or 14 points. We've got to keep everything close. Now, you get up 14 or 21 points with Doomerville and Von Miller and whoever else they bring in. You can let the dogs out, very similar.
Plus you add a running game to that. I mean, if you got a guy like Peyton Manning who can get you up a couple scores, then you have a top-notch defense. And then when you get leads, you can actually run the ball,
right?
Which has got to be, I wonder how that, if they're going to change up the schemes with the line. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, you guys did have the #1 rushing O-line last year, correct?
Yeah, and I think a lot of that had to do with Tebow and the play calling. I mean, they didn't throw the ball a ton, so I wouldn't look to see Denver being the #1 rushing team again. Due to the fact that they'll probably pass the ball more and they won't run it as much. But we'll have to wait to see what happens with Noshawn Marino, if he's going to come back. McGahee's still in the fold. They do have a good young offensive line. And Manning's played with great running backs before. He had Marshall Faulk, he had Edgerrin James. He knows how to utilize those guys out of the backfield. And if the Broncos' running game can stay healthy, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them add maybe another running back in the mid rounds of the draft, or bring in another guy to have a rotational set there. So I think the Denver offense is going to be just fine. I think the defense is going to be fine. They're looking at linebackers like Jameel McClain. They just re-signed Wesley Woodyard tonight to a 2-year deal.
Joe Mays got signed too as well, right?
Yep. They brought Joe Mays back. So I think the biggest key right now for the Broncos, and the biggest question mark that they have, is that defensive tackle. They're really trying hard to bring in the former Eagle, Broderick Bunkley. They don't know if they're going to bring him in or not. Ty Warren was hurt last year very early, so Denver never really got to see what he could bring. But if he comes back healthy, the former Patriot, he's a good run stuffer. They need help up the middle, but the edges are fine. The cornerback situation's fine. They brought in Mike Adams, the safety from the Browns. He's a solid vet. So
what about the what about the elephant in the room?
Tim Tebow. Let's talk about Tebow for a minute. I think Tebow is going to be traded. I really do, and the reason I think he'll be traded is simply because Elway is looking to get distractions out of the way. When you're ready to make a Super Bowl run and you're ready to put all your chips on the table for a Peyton Manning, you really can't have distractions. And not that Tim Tebow is trying to be a distraction, but his fans and the way that the fans approach him and the way he plays the game is going to be a distraction. Fans will still want to see Tebow play.
I mean, you can see in the playoffs. When Elway was watching Tebow Mania at its highest peak, and Tebow coming up with some amazing throws in the playoffs to get these big wins, he didn't look the happiest that you could be if you're in his position. But now he has the kind of guy that he's got his dream quarterback right now. If there's any quarterback that you want to be coaching at this moment, it would be Peyton Manning. But Tebow, it's not like you said, it's not Tebow. He's not the distraction. It's what comes with Tebow. The guy is off the field. He's got his own powers, and I don't know what's generating all the buzz. It's weird. He's a rock star icon. It's crazy.
Yeah, he has a huge family.
Where does he go though?
Well,
we're saying New England.
I could see that.
Could be H-back, perhaps. I don't know.
Well, I could see New England just for the red zone alone. Just for special packages inside the 15, inside the 10. He comes in. He can still throw the ball well enough that you have to guard it. You still have to watch Gronkowski. You still have to watch Hernandez in the red zone. But now, if you bring Tebow in at quarterback inside the 10 or the 5 even, now you've got linebackers who have to pay attention to him. Now all of a sudden you got Gronkowski and these other great tight ends slipping past you, and that could be a weapon. And we all know McDaniels, is a big fan of Tebow's. He traded, a second, third, and a fourth round pick to get him. and obviously he thinks highly of him. Now, whether Coach Belichick feels the same, we'll have to see. But other than that, I don't really see a ton of great fits. Everybody wants to link him to Jacksonville because they need ticket sales. They need to create a buzz.
Ticket sales and extra running back, goal line specimen. That's the only thing I could see them bring him in for. They have a new owner with the Jags, and if any way to get tickets would best be to send him to Jags. I mean, the Jags could use the extra ticket sales.
They could.
Maybe Miami if they want to get cute. It's really ugly at the QB situation going on. They just signed David Garrard, but I don't know. I mean, it's really.
Yeah, I just don't see Miami being a good fit because they're going to run that West Coast offense. And that's probably the worst offense for Tim Tebow because everything's predicated on timing and accuracy.
Yeah.
That's his biggest downfall is timing and accuracy. A lot of the receivers in that offense ran only certain routes on the route tree. And, running crossing patterns and quick slants, those have to be on the money.
Yeah.
And they can't be behind a guy. They can't be low. You can't, leave a guy out to dry when he's cutting across the middle. If you throw it high, you're going to get guys hurt. And Miami's already depleted at receiver after the Brandon Marshall trade. So I just don't see Miami being a good fit for Tebow's skill set. Whereas if he goes to a team like, maybe the Eagles, for example, or the Patriots, they have an offense where they have a running quarterback already, though. But it could be a good fit because of the fact that they wouldn't have to retailer the entire offense if he were to come in. They could still run variations of the Wildcat that they do with guys in motion. They hand the ball off a lot. They throw a lot of short passes to receivers that don't go very deep. They use that short passing game like a part of their running game. And, Michael Vick is obviously a running quarterback. He's obviously left-handed. And they have protection schemes built for that. So Tebow's a running quarterback.
I mean, after the Dream Team last year, they can't bring in any more distractions. And Tim Tebow and the hype machine.
No, I don't think the deal will happen. I'm not saying he's going to go to Philadelphia. I'm just saying that could be a fit.
That type of offense.
Right, kind of style. And I don't really see anything else that works for him. I think that the Broncos are going, and even Tebow's fans are going to see quick that his trade market is going to dry up like a puddle in the desert. I mean, teams aren't going to offer a big package for Tebow. I mean, they'll be lucky to get a 4th or 5th round pick for him.
I mean, he might just really have to if that position at the quarterback is not open in any other teams, he's going to have to start looking at running back. He could be a power back. I mean, it's only the guy is a big dude. So, I mean, if he wants to stay in the NFL, he might have to morph his talents. Take his talents to running back.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. He's not necessarily fast enough to be an every down running back, but in special packages, he could be good. But that's the thing. I mean, he's at a quarterback salary right now. He's a first-round pick who's, making quarterback money. So if you trade for him, you're trading for that contract. And I just don't see a team that's going to say, hey, I'll take it.
But they could always negotiate.
They can.
Oh, I mean, the funniest thing is that, just looking back at 2 years ago, we had a conversation about Tim Tebow, about Josh McDaniels, about this signing, and what the ramifications of that signing 2 years ago when we had this conversation. And now looking forward to this present time now, and thinking that Josh McDaniels is gone, and now his prodigal son is about to be shipped out of Denver. A lot can happen in 2 years.
No, absolutely. That's the times of the NFL. Rosters change, every offseason.
NFL, not for long.
There you have it. Well, bringing you up to speed on the Peyton Manning and Tim Tebow saga in Denver, I'm Steve O'Reilly, and that's Gail Saunders, and this is Skinnypost.com. We're giving you the skinny 24/7.